volunteer? Hannah and Tracy, would you like to be the first? Oh, here. I can. There's a. Do you need mic or? No, you don't have to sit in front of the. You can just sit. That's okay. Okay. Does it work? No, it's not working.
It's okay. I think that my voice is loud enough. I'm sorry. Okay, so today I want to bring up a really important topic for me and for everyone also. And I think that the topic of air pollution and from port operation is very receiving a lot of concerns right now.
Air pollution?
Air pollution in port because like greenhouse gas emit from port operations and marine shipping specifically is over than 940 million tons per year and accounted to 2.5.
Wow, you have already found the data.
Yes, and it's also accounted to 2.5% of global greenhouse gas emission worldwide every year. And
you mean all the combination of the ports around the world?
Marine shipping
industry.
Yes.
Okay.
And also air emission and greenhouse gas emission can cause a lot of effect to human life, such as climate change, global warming. And we're all hearing a lot of stories about thousands of koalas have been killed in fire in Australia last year, in 2018. And right now, a really serious situation related to ice melting. Like thousands of sea seals been found dead in Namibian breeding colony. It's so sad. And I think that we young people, we should take action and also do some research about shipping related to reduce this emission. And then I have some method that
not the method yet. No, not this part yet. Okay.
This
Only the situation and the consequences. Okay, that's good.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Tracy. So, how the marine, the shipping industry, how shipping industry pollutes the environment, especially the air pollution, and and then Tracy has found some amazing numbers, which I will talk about how to help the audience digest the number. Okay, so that's the situation, and if the problem continue, the consequences including ice melting, seals suffered, and the forest fire in Australia, and so on. Okay, so that's the consequences of the greenhouse effect. Okay, and because due to the emission from the air pollution. Okay, so that is the situation and consequences. Okay, that's a good example. Okay, thank you, Tracy, for volunteering. Anyone else? Okay, Hannah, would you like to be the second one?
Okay, so before we start, I have a number here. Can you see it clearly?
Yes.
What's the number? 75%?
Yeah. 75%. So do you know what it is?
Oh, that's a good strategy, asking the audience. Okay.
75%. What do you think about this number?
Could you help us to be more focused?
75% is
Related with what area?
shipping industry.
Still very broad.
And there's so I will tell you the answer first because I have just short time. So 75% is the amount of water compared to the earth all the way. So we have 75%. And the second number here is 90%. I know.
So 75% on Earth is water.
Yeah. And 90% or nearly 90% are the amount of goods that has been transferred or transported by sea. So that she is like really important to explain. Yeah. And then so my topic today is a little bit specific because I already researched about it and already
related with your thesis?
No, not my thesis, but this is one of my presentation. Yeah. So my topic is container shortage during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Container shortage.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it means like lacking of containers during the COVID-19 pandemic. So it's just like in the previous year. And the situation is because there's no empty container, so that we cannot transport the goods from Asia to the European country or in the US. And also it also related to like delaying the trading activities between nations and nations. And also the reason is because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdown and the port congestions between countries. Because like when we
Okay. That's the situation. So what is the possible consequence?
The consequences is the sea freight just increased dramatically. Yeah. And specifically, like I have number here is for a 20-foot container is like about $1,300 per container.
So the cost
just
is
like
increasing.
increase. But normally it's just like 400, but in the COVID-19 pandemic, so it just increased like 3 times and 4 times. And also it also affects to global supply chain because we cannot import and export goods.
And how does it relate to the audience? So we don't have food to eat.
And don't have food to eat and don't have like clothes to wear and something like all necessary things.
Yes, thank you. That's a very serious situation right now, and then it causes a ripple effect, okay? Probably sometimes next year, if this problem is not addressed or solved, we will see more significant impacts due to this situation. Not only food, clothing, probably electricity, power supply, all these can make the matter even worse, okay? Alright, okay, obviously, two of you have done some research, okay, and have some insights into the problems and possible consequences. Okay, that's a good example. But don't be afraid, don't, for the undergrads here, okay, don't be frustrated, okay? Let's show how you have found or your possible topic that you are interested. Can we start from Sandy here? What is the area that you are interested? Labor market. Vegan? Like vegetarian? Yeah, vegan. So go veggies, eat vegetables, become vegan or vegetarians will save the world. Okay, so the problem is, okay, maybe you want to start from some kind of pollution, okay, due to eating a lot of meat. You know, air pollution and food supply shortage because a lot of people eat meat. So you want to persuade your audience to start eating vegetables, becoming vegan or vegetarians. And how does it relate with the area of your study? Maybe you can think about it. So how can you connect being a vegan or vegetarian related with the area of study, which is 你们今天怎么的？航管 Yes. Think about it. Okay, make a connection. Otherwise, this topic is good and important, but too general for your audience, who are professors. So you need to connect these. Think about how this connects with the area of your study. Okay. So what about Jenny? Have you found any interesting, possible topic for your research, for your final project, final presentation?
About ship rate increase and container shortage.
That's very important, yes.
Because a lot of cruise around the world are got a lot of cruise got COVID-19.
Yes.
And cause there are not enough people
To go on
to
board.
go on board.
So the containers are in short supply.
Yeah, because most of the container are control in
Controlled by
control by just several
companies.
companies.
Yes, yes. So these companies are major suppliers for the containers, and for if they are, the cruise is sick and they cannot go on to the sea, then the ships can be available for the for business, for shipping, and then the freight go up. Okay, right. That's the current situation, and the consequences. Consumers need to pay more for the goods, especially imported goods. Good. Okay. All right, Amber. What about you?
The vaccine shortage around the world.
Vaccine shortage around the world. Okay, that's another critical issue. Okay, and how does that relate with your area of study? 这个跟你的专业有什么什么样关联？老师有没有要求说一定要跟你的专业有关？
不知道。
Should be.
刚刚突然想到。
I think should be. Well, vaccine shortage is it's a critical issue here in the world, and then unfortunately the vaccines are not enough for the people around the world.
Because some rich countries will buy overbook some vaccine.
Yes, yes. So people in poor countries suffer from this shortage a great deal. So yes, this is again an important topic, but still very broad. Okay, you need to focus, make it more focused, and most importantly, you probably need to find out the requirements for your final presentation. I think maybe that these topics should be related with your area of study. Okay. All right. Thank you, Grace. What about you?
My topic is global supply chain breakdown. And for example, American people, if Christmas is coming,
Right.
American people, they want to decorate their house, so they need to buy something online. But because of pandemic, their container ship cannot
Reach the port.
yes on time. They can't enter the port. They have to wait on sea. Yes, so pandemic leads to port congestion.
Right. And port congestion
Congestion.
leads a lot of more problems.
Yes. American people they are afraid of they cannot receive their things on
Gifts.
time on Christmas that day. Yeah.
And that's one event. That's one holiday. If the congestion continues, probably there are more shortage
Yes.
in addition to Christmas gifts or Christmas decoration or Christmas supply. Okay, all right, good. And I think that's a very good point that you're starting with Christmas, because that is events coming up in December, which is close to your presentation time. So that's a good strategy, see? Use the events, okay, right? And the events are very close to the day that you are going to present, okay? So keep that in mind. Good. What about you, Jason?
Global warming make the ice break melt.
Yes, and then?
And then makes the sea level rising.
Mm-hmm.
The sea level in the water surrounding Taiwan has rising at the rate of 3.4 mm per year during these past 20 years.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And if we don't do something, the sea level rising will cause gradually increase the tons of typhoon every year.
Mm-hmm.
And many islands and countries will disappear.
Will be disappear, including Taiwan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe they say in 2050 and Kaohsiung will be disappear.
Underwater.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So global warming related to the rise of seawater level, and that leads to the crisis, such as typhoon. Okay, in the short term and in the long term, Taiwan probably some area of Taiwan will be underwater. Okay. All right. Okay. So, and how does it relate it with your area of study?
Many sea creatures are extinct and like
Extinct. Mm-hmm.
Like sea lions and
Mm-hmm.
blue whale.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Good. So, the situation of the rise of sea level, and that brings a lot of impact on human beings' life and marine creatures, marine life. And then if the problem doesn't solve, we will see more typhoons. We will see our cities underwater 100 years later, okay? Maybe not 100 years later, 50 years later, who knows? So, okay, good. That's the situation, a good start, okay? What about Amy?
I found some automated terminals.
Automated terminal. At airport or port? Port. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Automated terminal is more efficiency, but it may make many people didn't have job.
Ah, interesting. Very good. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So the new technology, okay, or the new operation system, automatic seaport, okay, it's good, but on the other hand, there are some other disadvantages, okay, including job loss. Maybe people will lose their job because this automation. Okay, good, interesting. Okay, but so you need to present the advantages, disadvantages, and what the balance is. Okay, what are the solutions for to need to balance these advantages and disadvantages? Okay, very interesting. Okay, so thank you for sharing your ideas and thoughts, and I hope that and because next week I'm going to give you today I will give you a task for you, and then next week you are going to share with me your the first slides, the cover page of your presentation. Okay, but this is not the final one, of course, because I'm sure you are going to make a lot of changes during this from now to the end of your to your final presentation. But just let's have some hands-on practice activities after today's lecture. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right. So okay, now we're going to move on to how to draft the presentation. But before that, let me again reiterate what we have learned during the first hour, okay? And give you some more idea when you draft your script for the presentation. Okay, here, situation and consequences. These two parts, we call it the hook. You know, the fish hook? The hook to catch the fish. So the hook is to raise your audience interest. Okay, this part we call it hook. And that probably will account for 20 to 30% of your presentation in terms of length. Okay, so make it short but powerful. You need to have, for instance, Hannah has some numbers, okay, and that's a good hook because you want to hook your audience to your presentation. This is short. The hook is short, but very critical. If your audience lose interest at the beginning of your presentation, basically your presentation has failed. So you want to get their attention immediately at the beginning of your presentation. So you need to work very hard on this part, on the hook part, because you want to hook your audience attention. You want to arouse their interest, okay? So that will account for 20 to 30% for situation and consequence, okay? And let's recap. Do you remember what the situation is about? Situation is to what? Oh, sorry. And the aims and the needs, okay, accounts for 70 to 80%. This is the longest part. And here is the most juicy part, okay? You need to explain the content. Okay, show your knowledge, show your professional knowledge at this part. Okay, that will account 70 to 80%. And then let me recap what we have. I went through. I have covered during the first hour. Okay, so situation is to explain the problems or situation, and the strategy is what? Provide facts, stories, personal experience, or events and news. Okay, all right. And the consequence. Okay, consequence is what would happen if the problem continues. And the strategy is to address audience fears and wants. For example, as Grace said, audience fear is, what about my Christmas gift? I can't receive them. And that's their want, okay? Or oh no, I have to pay more money for this Christmas gift because the port congestion, because the shortage of containers. So, consequence and strategy is what are the fears and the wants. Okay? Frames. Provide solutions, improvements, benefits, and advantage, or explain advantage and disadvantage. And the strategy is, yes, the problem can be solved if we blah, 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 blah. Okay? And here is you need to present your knowledge. the outcome of your research, okay, your experience, or provide examples, okay, how these can be solved, what other successful stories are, okay. And then needs. Here is the last part, that is call for action, or emphasize these can be solved, these can be done, okay, if we blah blah blah. And don't wait. Just do it. Okay. So here is the structure of the presentation. Okay? Alright. Now let's watch this video. Okay? I coached this group and a group of my students last year, and they won the first prize of the SDGs competition, the first SDG competition for college students, and the organizer is our university. Okay, so let's watch how they perform, and then the organization of this presentation is exactly SCAN. Follow the principle of SCAN. Okay. Okay, I don't know whether you can read. Reducing food waste is the topic of their presentation. Okay, now let's start. And at the beginning, you will see they provide some amazing data, amazing facts.
Ladies and gentlemen, can you imagine all the people in Taiwan, including you and me, have...
Can I make it louder?
And also, Professor also raised one volume
On the screen.
on the screen. On the screen. One volume. Yeah.
no food to eat?
It's maximum already.
Okay, you will see here his first sentence is imagine. Okay, that's the strategy used. Imagine the scenario.
Ladies and gentlemen, can you imagine all the people in Taiwan, including you and me, have no food to eat? Well, actually, you can't, because we have ample supply of food. According to Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, in 2019, the number of people who suffer from starvation is 822 million, which is as many as 35 times the population in Taiwan. That is, 1 in every 9 people in the world still suffer from starvation. On the contrary, 1/3 of the food produced in the world is never eaten. What if those food can be given to the people in need? The problem, I believe, will be greatly alleviated. Ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so the first part of the scan. Yes, okay. Situation. Okay, situation. Okay, so what's the strategy for this group to use for the situation? That is what?
They use the facts and data.
Yes, facts. Amazing fact. Amazing, okay? What I mean to amazing, okay, here they use data, facts. And at the beginning they ask the audience questions like Hannah did. What is the number? 75 stands for, okay? Imagine you have no food to eat. You can't imagine, right? Because we have ample supply of food. But followed by the fact. But in fact, there are so many people in the world suffer from starvation, suffer from hunger. And then they use those numbers. Okay, but do you remember, do they interpret the number for the audience? Explain the number to the audience. In what way? Okay, if you tell the audience, oh, there are 20 million people in the world suffer from hunger, does it have any meaning to you? 22 million, how many are they? It's just a number. But do you remember in this presentation, what's the strategy for them to adopt to explain the number and make the relevance to the audience? Do you remember? Let's watch again. That's why I say, okay, for you to have those data, you need to make it amazing and relevant to the audience. Okay, that's good. Right.
All the people in Taiwan, including you and me, have no food to eat? Well, actually, you can't, because we have ample supply of food. According to Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations, in 2019, the number of people who suffer from starvation is 822 million, which is as many as 35 times the population in Taiwan.
Okay, so there are 823 million people in the world suffer from hunger. What does that mean? It doesn't have any meaning to you because it's such a big number. So what do? They interpret. That is about how many times of people, how many times of population in Taiwan? 35 times. That's how many people suffer from starvation. Okay, so now suddenly the number has meaning to you. You can imagine how many people suffer from the hunger. So you need to interpret the number, the data, and make it relevant to your audience and make it amazing. I have to emphasize amazing. And don't forget your audience has the expertise and knowledge. So I already know 75% of the world is constituted with water. So find out more amazing data to arouse their audience, okay? And then so that's about 1 in every 9 people. 1 in every 9. So that's another way to interpret the data, to make the connection with the audience, okay? And I think this is very important. As long as you have number in the hook, in the beginning of the presentation, you need to make it relevant to the audience, okay? So let's say, for instance, for your presentation, you can explain currently there are, let's say, 1,000 workers work at Kaohsiung Port. But can you imagine 50 of them will lose their job 1 year later if Kaohsiung Port implements automation management? That suddenly makes the relevance to the audience. Does it make sense to you? See? Okay, so interpret the data for the audience, okay? Or let them imagine if and then what would happen. So it probably won't happen soon in Kaohsiung Port. But if we implement this management system, that could happen. And that is a huge impact on the labor supply, on people's livelihood. Okay, so
That is 1 in every 9 people in the world still suffer from starvation. On the contrary, 1/3 of the food produced in the world is never eaten. What if those food can be given to the people in need? The problem, I believe, will be greatly alleviated. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Jeffrey. This is Catherine, Tom, and Joanne. Our topic is a recipe for a better tomorrow, reducing food waste. We became
Okay, so have you noticed they didn't introduce themselves at the beginning of the presentation? They wait after the hook, right? So that's a strategy. So you can introduce yourself like you will see a lot of presentation will start, hi, my name is Hannah, I am the graduate student, and I'm here to share with you, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's very common for presentation, but I ask them not to introduce themselves at the beginning. Why don't you wait until you provide those amazing facts? So hook the audience, okay, first, and then tell them who you are, okay? And then next they are going to share the motivation, why they are interested in this topic, okay?
interested in reducing food waste and fighting hunger after we attended an international fundraising event, 30-hour famine. We experienced how refugees feel and realized how lucky we are because we have ample supply of food. Yet at the same time, we're wasting a large quantity of food when it can feed numerous hungry people, especially children. Today, we'd like to focus on this crucial issue, food waste. Why do we need to reduce food waste?
It's because, okay, all right. So what's the next now? They have explained the situation, and then comes the consequence. Why? Why do we need to reduce food waste? If we don't reduce food waste, what would happen? Now it's the consequence, okay? So see how they explain the consequence. So why do we need to reduce food waste? Here, these question leads to consequence.
Because reducing food waste can reduce environmental pollution, the waste of energy, and hunger, which corresponds with the following Sustainable Development Goals. They are number 2, zero hunger, number 7, affordable and clean energy, and number 13, climate action.
How is the food waste related to the environment, energy, and hunger? Let me tell you, each day nearly 4 billion tons of food is thrown away and ends up in landfills, which releases methane 25 times stronger than carbon dioxide, causing global warming and species extinction. Even worse, food waste creates a vicious cycle because food waste results in global warming, which leads to less reproduction. Of course, the less food we have, the more people suffer from starvation. In addition, food waste consumes energy, water, and fertilizers.
So what problem do we face in Taiwan?
Okay, so that's the consequence. Okay, you have you need to the food waste will require use more energy to manage these food waste. Okay, and then use more fertilizer, and that further pollute the land. Okay, so this is a vicious cycle. So they explain the consequence. Okay, so how serious this problem could, the impact of these problems. And then she asked the question, so what does food waste, what's the situation in Taiwan? Again, make the relevance to the audience because we all live in Taiwan. So this is not a problem we have the similar problem in Taiwan too, okay? So make the relevance.
The problem is that the people in need don't have easy accesses to the surface food, especially fresh produce and meats. In Taiwan, 1.8 million people have been undernourished, and the number equals the population of Tainan City. On the other hand, we produce 35 towers of leftovers. Does this sound shocking to you?
Yep. Again, so that's the problem in Taiwan, okay? That's we produce 35 times of Taipei 101 tower equally, okay, of the food waste. And then this is the problem, okay?
Therefore, we will mainly focus on ending hunger.
Now, we know how severe the problem is. Let me make a comparison between France and Taiwan. The average people in France only.
Okay, now these students will explain the situation in Taiwan and the situation in France. Okay, so that leads to which stage? AIMS. Remember that one of the strategy for AIMS is to provide examples to show what other has done. Okay, so I don't know, for Abby, you might find an example from other ports. How the change of management or operation help them or hurt them, and how the what the challenges are. So you can use examples. Okay, so actually this is a requirement by the organizer. You have to provide 2 examples from 2 different nations. Okay, so they explain what's going on in France, and as a good example for Taiwan.
Produce 80 kilograms of leftovers every year. However, the Taiwanese produces 160 kilograms of leftovers every year.
Now, you might wonder, why the amount of food waste in Taiwan is twice as much as that in France? The major reason we concluded from our research might be, in 2012, the French government launched a new law, Waste Management Enforcement Law, to reduce the organic waste sent to landfill. Those who violate the law will be fined up to 75,000 euros.
Okay, so they explain why Taiwanese produce more food waste than twice as much as the French. Okay, it's because of the law. Okay, and again they use the numbers. Okay, they use numbers. So these are specific numbers, and that is more. Numbers are more what? Convincing. Numbers are more persuasive than just text, than just words. So if you can find numbers, okay, and so let's see, these business will be penalized by paying fines as much as this. Okay, so if you can find numbers, use numbers to convince your audience.
Which is equal to 2.5 million Taiwan dollars. In 2015, fighting food waste, proposal for the public policy is also another ambitious proposal. The French lawmaker proposed a complete measure for prevention, recovery, and recycling of food waste. There are also other laws to mandate businesses to practice food waste reduction. For example, businesses are asked to put the statistics in their annual reports. As for hospitality industry, restaurants are forced to make takeout bags available. There is also a ban on putting expiration date on certain items, such as vinegar and wine. To take further action, in 2016, France has become the first country to pass a law prohibiting large-scale supermarkets from dumping good quality food. They have to sign a donation contract with the charities, or facing penalty of 3,750 euros. Okay, so she explained the laws in France, how the law demands the business to comply, okay, and to reduce food waste. For instance, the big supermarket cannot dump fresh food to the dumpsters. They need to donate the food, okay, and that's the law. This is the requirement required by law. So here is the example. So they are at the AIMS stage, okay?
In contrast, in Taiwan, there is no law to reduce leftovers. And the food stamp people in Taiwan also sets a barrier for people to donate fresh produce and meat to those who are in need. And therefore, the food will be thrown away. In 2016, the Taiwanese lawmaker proposed a food ban law draft. In this draft, the government is asked to ensure the food is safe before donated to the charities. The government organizations should give their surplus food to those who are in need. their income tax. Most importantly, the donor's right will be protected. This law focuses on the items that have low expiration dates, such as cookies, pens, and rice. But what about those fresh and surplus food? Therefore, we, as young advocates, want.
Okay, so they are still at the aims. So they advocate, they provide solutions. Okay, so that's the solution they provide. So they use the example and then they conclude that's the plans or the solutions they would provide and share that in the presentation.
To provide the following advocacy. Firstly, establish laws and regulation. Second, construct inspection measures. Lastly, emphasize education. The government should implement a law like, for instance, to eliminate food leftovers in supermarkets and businesses. First of all, they have to set up a standard operating procedure to inspect the food quality before they donate the food to their local food banks, charities, or communities. Second, they have to set up a kitchen to cook the food for the people in need or install a refrigerator with surplus food inside for the poor people to take, just like the pictures here. As for businesses, they will have to put out statistics of food waste and specific measures that they adopt to reduce the leftovers in their annual reports. Last but not least, school curriculum should include the education on food sustainability and responsible consumption.
Now, before we have our presentation, we would like you to do shelter.
Okay, now here is the final stage, need. Here they call for action, okay? And they use the story of shelter. But I don't know whether you can see the film, but that's here what she said.
He's an elementary school student who lives in a low-income and a single-parent family. He has to work with his father on the farm after school. However, he worked hard and he's the top of his class. His junior wish is to just have a hot meal with rice on the table. Shouldn't we come in? Hungry aren't just statistics. They are lives, like shelter. So please, save food to save lives. Here are our references.
Okay, so they call for action using Xiaozhe's story. Okay, Xiaozhe is from a single parent family, and he lives with his father. He works hard on his study, and he's always on the top of the class. But the problem is he is too poor. His family is too poor. He doesn't have the regular hot meal to eat. So during the so his wishes for the Chinese New Year is to have a big hot meal with his father. Okay, and so they call for action. What if we can save those food for the families like Xiaozhe? So they would have hot meal to eat. And then they call for action that is save food to save lives. Okay, so that's the. So now you see the clear structure of SCAN, right? Starting with the problem, the situation, and then explain the consequences, and then tell us, using your knowledge or the information you search, and using examples, experience, knowledge, okay, and then provide solution if there are solutions that you can propose or advocate, and then call for action. It's now or never, or you need to do that now. Okay? So, time for another break. Any questions or comments regarding? Now I hope you have better understanding about this SCAN structure. Okay, so use it. I truly hope that you can use this structure for your presentation, because you'll find it's easier for you to organize the parts of your presentation. Okay, so next, and so in the final hour, I'm going to talk a little bit about, that's actually the next part is, write the script. But I'll skip this part. I'll leave this part to next week. Next week, we will start from visuals. We'll talk a little bit about how to design visuals, so you can go home and prepare the cover page of your the cover page of a presentation, and then so it can share with us next week. So we have some hands-on activity for designing visuals. Okay. So why don't we take a 10 minutes break and then come back at 11.